and Arizona State, winning the Big 12 title in their first season as a conference member. What a win for them. Like I said, Sam Levitt progressively getting more hype throughout the game. It all came out post-game, and that guy, Cam Skattebo, with the MVP belt. Their first 11-win season since 1996. And let me remind you, Arizona State picked to finish last in the preseason poll. 100-1 were the odds for the Sun Devils to be on top. Hope you got that ticket early, because Arizona State wins the Big 12. Let's bring on our friend Josh Pate, who was there in Arlington to take it all in. And Josh, there was obviously a lot of talk about how much meaning these conference championship games actually have with this expanded playoff. But being there in Arlington, how much does this championship win mean to this Arizona State program?
A lot of tears. I'm just telling you, a lot of people were crying, of all ages. I think it's so funny. I mean, there are a couple of kids up there crying, and you almost want to say, like, suck it up. Do you understand what these other long-suffering Arizona State fans have been through? It's a really big deal. I think what you just said about the odds in the preseason to win this conference could only happen in this conference, Emily. There is no way Vanderbilt or, Purdue or someone like that is making a run in those other conferences because the gulf of talent and resource is too wide. In the Big 12, I call it America's College Football Conference because the competitive balance is such that it really is an any given Saturday league. I mean, literally an any given Saturday league. And it also is a league where you could suggest what actually happened could happen. And people would look at you like, ooh, that's a long shot. But it's not crazy. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And then when you consider which program specifically just did this, it's Arizona State. Arizona State, if we hit the rewind button, like 36 months, 48 months, it's the Herm Edwards regime. They look like they're headed off a cliff in every imaginable way, and they fire that coaching staff, and they find Kenny Dillingham at the perfect time because he's from Tempe and he grew up there and he's still young. So, he'll be happy to take the wheel as it's headed off the cliff, and he'll see us through the dark days. And they just swerved so quickly. They had the audacity to, keep competing, keep working. And in the Big 12, if you thread the needle just right, it turns out literally anything is possible. And now the bigger talking point around this team is not just that they won the Big 12, which is a huge deal, fly that conference flag high. It's, was this result emphatic enough to deliver maybe a first-round bye? I've got my feelings on that. We'll see what the committee feels about it.
Well, what are your feelings on that, Josh Pate? Please tell us.
Unequivocally, this team deserves a first-round bye. Now, I said that, Greg, like 4 or 5 hours ago, we did a preseason hit, and I said, pregame hit, whoever wins this game deserves a first-round bye or first-round placement above Boise. Which sounds like, oh, you got something against Boise. You got an axe to grind against the G5. I don't. But with all the feel-good sentiment in the room last night, I watched that game just like you did, just like everyone did, up on the blue turf, the freezing fog in the air. It was a great win for Spencer Danielson. It was a showcase performance for Ashton Jeanty. But the reality is, the strength of schedule argument is no argument. Even in the Big 12, what you go through week in, week out, the cumulative effect of the average strength of schedule in the Big 12 is miles different than what you're going to face respectfully in the Mountain West. And so I don't mind Boise getting in. I love a format where they can get in. But to look at what we just saw and to look at what Arizona State's done all year and the caliber of team, relatively speaking, that they've done it against, what the other resume has on it pales in comparison. So maybe it needed to be this emphatic for the committee to have a reason to give them a first-round bye. If that's indeed the case, I don't think it even needed to be emphatic. I think they needed to just win this game today.
And they did, and we'll continue to politic for them as much as we would like to, but ultimately, Pate, they're in the dance, and they will bring Cam Skattebo with them, hopefully doing some damage continually in the postseason. Again, you were there. I just want to know, what's it like watching this guy up close?
Well, he's done it all year, I think that it was just this kind of cool name that was on the radar. You know how this goes. If you're not playing for one of the premier brands and you start to have a big year, sometimes people hear your name before they see you play. I think Ashton Genty's been that way, actually. I think Skattebo's been that way. And then slowly but surely, more people start to see it's not just the diehard fans. It's not just the fans of that team. And then you get to a conference championship game, and everyone's eyes are wide like saucers, like, who is this? Well, it's Cam Skattebo. But you need to understand, for those of you who just tuned in today, this dude's done this all year. I mean, he did it a few weeks ago when we were out there for their game. He then did it again against Arizona, and he does it again today. And he's the kind of guy that probably becomes the face of a team like Arizona State that needs a face above and beyond just their head coach. I think that also, just a little side note here, the whole Heisman thing. I don't know if he could win the Heisman or not, but anyone who has a vote, just the people that turned their ballots in already, what are we even doing? If you don't respect the entire process and let the entire season play out, if you didn't watch Genty last night, if you didn't watch Skattebo today, or what could happen the rest of the day, Emily, before you turned in your vote, just relinquish the vote. Like, what are we even doing at that point?
Let's finish here. I just want to talk big picture, because you mentioned what Kenny Dillingham walked into when he took this job. I mean, they were vacating wins just in 2022, which is not that long ago. So in your eyes, what's most impressive about this turnaround for Kenny Dillingham himself?
That it wasn't spearheaded by one person. It wasn't that we watched them this year and they just got some mercenary kid out of the portal that's a rock star, and he comes in like a hurricane, goes out like a hurricane, then everything reverts back to normal. There are a lot of different role players on this team behind a Skattebo or even a Sam Levitt. I think back to spring, you know, when you and I may look at our phone and we see, oh, Jaden Rashada's entered the transfer portal. Well, he was penciled in as their starter, and everyone freaked out. And then come to find out, he was probably low-key getting beat out in spring by Sam Levitt, and no one around the program freaked out. They said, all right, we've got the guy that probably would have started for us anyway. That was all the way back in spring, but I think the most impressive part is just a couple of years into his tenure now, if you believe that the identity and culture of a program should perfectly reflect the personality of Ted Coach, which I do, you've got no better example of that than Kenny Dillingham's Arizona State. And it's so funny because he is the total opposite of a Kirby Smart. Georgia feels like Kirby Smart to me. Arizona State feels absolutely like Kenny Dillingham to me, which just goes to show you, especially at this level in college football, there's more than one way to skin the cat, and both of those ways can work.
Dillingham was in his bag in this game, too, going for it on 4th and 1 from his own 34 and pulling off a 63-yard pass. After that, though, the game seemed to really go in the favor of Arizona State. Josh Pate, thank you so much for the great analysis. If you want more great analysis from Josh Pate, you can check out Josh Pate's College Football Show. It airs live on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern, live again on YouTube.